Hi guys and gals, and welcome back to another Work No Game video. Today's video is dedicated to some weapons to look out for and some tips for blood gacha, so let's jump right into it. So the biggest things that you gotta know is these are the new materials that popped up in JP. These materials essentially allow you to go LL onto your weapons. Of course, this is JP exclusive, this isn't in, global yet. The biggest thing is you can see here it comes from Evolution No Mystery. So if we go right here, within the game, you go into Story, and then Story, go to Events, and then this is the evolution mysteries that they are talking about. Just to note though, if you look at the actual page on Twitter, this will say that it's from EX stage. It also says on the image, right, EX stage. So since this is coming in from EX stage, obviously we don't have that because ours only goes up to advanced. And the biggest thing is in weapons in the SINoALICE database, if you have it set to JP and then you filter by LL evolved, you can actually see the weapons that only go to LL evolved. Now I've mapped out at least 5 weapons that can go into LL, and the thing is it's not that many, right? These are the only weapons that I know that go in from SR in global to LL in the future possibly. The first one is Sacred Bird of Arbalest. This is actually a Royal User Service weapon, and it takes like that heart right here. If you translate it, this is like some sort of like dragon heart, right? Dragon heart water. And then this is going to be, if we translate it, I believe like dragon species flame. So this is like some sort of flame, right? And then the stats go from like what, like 6,684 to 8,000. But the really gnarly part is that's at MLB. The base stats is 5,184. When it goes to LL, it goes to 6,490, which is almost as the same as the MLB. So these LL weapons, they're gonna make a huge difference, and of course it's gonna take some time for it to come to global. My biggest thing is just be aware that these weapons are coming, and I'll try my best to like keep my eye out for them. But the biggest thing is, just have them in your roster so you can equip them, so you can be ready when this drops, maybe in 2 to 3 years, I'm not sure. This is the next weapon. It's actually an orb. It's not like a fantastic thing because of course it's an orb, but you could use it as a subgrid weapon. And because it's, this is also a Royal User Service weapon, there's a lot of ways to acquire them. So it would be like an 800 stat, subgrid weapon, which is absolutely insane if you MLB it. If you somehow have that many Royal User Service tokens, you have that ability to do so. But yay orbs. Next weapon that can actually go to this is the Hydra Spear. Very, very popular amongst Royal User Services. Now the biggest thing is, of course, it goes from, the standard 6,707 at MLB to 6,543 at level 100 on LL. Notice that LL goes from, instead of level 120 being the max at MLB, it goes to level 140. And note they're gradually releasing these, so they're not just dumping these into the game. And of course, like, we don't have to worry about this for a long time. It's just so that we can be aware. Now, the next 2 weapons. This weapon in particular just got released into global, and this is the Defiant Bird Spear, right? You can actually go to LL, which is kind of crazy to think about just because it just got released into like, global. But anyways, I highly recommend picking this up. If you're wondering where to get it, go into the Grimoire. Within the Grimoire, you can go into, Snow White's banner. And then in Snow White's banner, you'll actually be able to see in Grimoire details the actual weapon. So if you go right here, you see Defiant Bird Spear, one of the rate up weapons. And you can also get it from the Metal Exchange. If you so happen to want to pity for it, it's in Metal of Exchange 10. And do note that it is quite expensive, but at the end of the day, since it can go LL, it's going to be completely worth it, right? Now obviously it's going to take 2 to 3 years, I have to keep saying that, but it's just best to have something like this that even if it doesn't have Dauntless Courage on it, it can turn into a monstrous weapon into the future, you know what I mean? Now the next weapon that's actually released recently is the Staff of Incarnation. Now this Staff of Incarnation, I believe this was on the limited staff banner, and it's actually really cool because it's cost 17. So you can notice that a lot of the weapons are cost 18, cost 18, cost 17. Pretty much like that staff is the only weapon that's at cost 17. I would suggest like picking this up. Obviously the stats kind of like way where Since the cost is at 17, it's not as high. You know, all the other weapons were at 8,000. This one's at 7,000. But still, it's an absolutely amazing staff that you should pick up, you know, when it is available. I don't believe you can pity it right now, but I'm sure it'll come back somewhere. So whenever you see this, you know, staff again, make sure to pick it up. Pretty much it for, like, you know, the important weapons to look for. The Staff of Incarnation, you know, the Defiant Bird Spear, Hydra Spear, the Mask of Pride, Sacred Bird Arbalist. Now, I just want to show you quickly that you can actually get these in the Royal User Service. So if you go into menu, you go into Metal Exchange, and within Metal Exchange, you go to Royal User Medals or Royal Medals. Right here, you can see the Hydra's Lance, you know, that's the Hydra Spear that we were talking about. And then you can see here, where is it? The Mask of Pride, that's what we were talking about earlier. And then the Arbalist Sacred Bow, or the Sacred Bird Bow, Sacred Bird Arbalist, right? So make sure to pick up all of these when you can, when you have the Royal User Service tokens available to you. Obviously, you know, it's going to be a while, but, you know, it's just nice to know that these are okay. And notice that all of the weapons don't really have crazy, you know, Coliseum passives, except for Hydra Spear. That's the only one, really. And the Staff of Incarnation. Now, let's go ahead and talk about Blood Gacha. So, the way you want to look at Blood Gacha, if you want to run it in an organized fashion, is certain people will do certain polls, or pretty much everyone will do polls, right? So let's go ahead and skip this cutscene. Now, the biggest thing is the items list. Now, you're going to essentially decide who gets what weapons. Now, the thing is the Black Iron Sword and, you know, the Black Iron Spear, I believe that it's only worth it to use if you max limit break these weapons. So ideally, you plan it so that only one Vanguard gets one of each, or like all of these weapons. And you plan it so that supports, you know, someone each gets like specifically the Violin, Iron Book, and Staff. I think the Violin and Iron Book are two of the most like valuable weapons. And the reason why is because supports don't have that many SR weapons. Even if this thing doesn't have high stats, it still has, you know, somewhat decent stats once it's max limit broken, once it's at legendary, so it's definitely okay to use. Pretty much the tactic is that all of your guild members will do 20 to 30 polls, and on the last day, people will essentially be like, I want the Violin. So what happens is, everyone polls, let's say everyone gets like a weapon, right? But they don't get the weapon that they want. You clear out the shop and you essentially put the weapons back that someone needs. So for example, if I have the Iron Book, but I want the swords particularly, I will ask who has the Black Iron Book. So let's say Guildie B has the Iron Book. He returns it, and then Guildie C wants the Iron Book. So Guildie C will get the Iron Book, and then so on and so forth. So pretty much what happens is you empty out the shop, everyone gets like a weapon or something, and what you do is you have to make sure that pretty much all of these like evolution nightmare material, you know, these upgrade tablets, pretty much everything's emptied out, and the only things left are the weapons. And what you do is you coordinate someone returning a weapon and someone getting a weapon. So that's like a tactic if you want to, you know, have it so that certain people get specifically the Violin and the Book, because those are the only two weapons that I believe are absolutely essential. Everything else is kind of replaceable. Even the Staff, you could say, is pretty decent. You know, these do have like somewhat decent like stats overall, but for the most part, I would say the Violin and Book, they're definitely the MVPs, just because there's not very many of these available, and you know, it does have a decent call of support skill. Even though I wouldn't hold on to this too long, it's still also all of these are technically all fantastic subgrid weapons if you so choose to, you know, use them. But anyways, that's it for this video. Make sure to, you know, eventually get the weapons that we talked about, like the important weapons, all of the ones from the Royal User Service, right, and all of the ones specifically the Defiant Spear that just released. That's it for this video. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter, and I will see you in the next one.